All right, guys. So today we are going to finish our Palm Sunday. This is part two. Part one was looking at our emotions, how we handled Christ going towards the cross. And now we're going to look at Christ's emotions and his humanity. As I was watching Ken's video on Sunday, I thought about, we have to understand that he was fully human. When I was growing up, I often had this misunderstanding that, he was superhuman, that he didn't really feel as much pain as us because he could take that off. Where he didn't really, he took a lot of shortcuts, or this wouldn't have been as bad for Christ. I mean, he knew this was going to happen, but we see that that's false. He was fully human. He had all the emotions of a human. It says the Word became flesh. He was fully human when he died. He was fully human when he was resurrected. That was another place where I would totally have a misunderstanding and think, he came back as like a spirit or, this ghost, but it's not. He came back fully alive. He had the scars to show everybody. It's so important to understand this. So we're going to look at some points just to understand this going into Easter, because I think this will really help us understand what was sacrificed on Easter when he was crucified, understanding that he felt every bit of that as we would. Because if he weren't fully human, if he didn't come down to take all of that on, he would not be able to be the perfect mediator that he is now. So, the first point is the Word became flesh. He totally had a human body. We see this, in James or John 4:6. It says, Jesus, therefore, being wearied from his journey, sat thus by the well. Guys, he got tired. He had to stop and eat. He had to stop and drink. It wasn't like he could just, he could have made water appear out of air, but he took on his full fleshly body, and even felt all the urges we feel, the needs that we have. He has emotions. It tells us, he marveled. In John 11:35, Jesus wept. We see that he is sorrowful, that he gets anxiety. Before he goes on the cross, in Matthew 9, we see he looks out on the crowd and he had compassion for them. He felt for these people. John Calvin said, just as he took on our flesh, he took on our emotions. We have to understand that he had emotions in him. It wasn't like a lot of, when Lazarus died, he wept for his friend. He even knew that Lazarus was coming back, but we still see him expressing sorrow. He had a human mind, and he had a human will. And we see it in John 6:38 and Matthew 26:39. In both, he references, he says, I came here not to do my will, but my Father's will. Insinuating that there's a human will within him, but him knowing and perfectly that he is there to do the Father's work. It's so important. So, these are just some great passages. I would really recommend going through this video and looking through it and seeing kind of, where do I see this? Where do I see this? And, you looking through the references, because it's so important to see that Christ was fully human. You ask yourself, do you see Christ in the Gospels as fully human? Do you understand that, he felt every bit of this, that this was not an easy thing for him, that he even asked God, he said, there's another way, I would happily do that. And secondly, understanding, that this is awesome for us. The fact that he did this, he gets to be our mediator, that he can be our great priest. Hebrews tells us he's our great priest because he can understand what we've gone through. He can understand the temptations that we have faced, in our own humanity. We see this, as Jesus, on Palm Sunday is riding through, the Pharisees get jealous and tell him to stop the people. And he says, even if I stop them, the rocks would cry out. We then see he starts weeping because of what he knows will happen. He feels for these people. It's not that he was some, mega God that came down, but he became one of us. The Word became flesh. And we have to understand that. So I really hope that this video is uplifting for you guys, that this could shed some light on a lot of misunderstandings I had growing up, and that it just causes us to worship so much more. I am planning on doing a Good Friday video, and then we'll have an Easter Sunday video. So, again, I can't wait till we're all back together. I pray that God is just blessing you in your time with your families, and that we just have a great time when we're all back together. I'll see you guys.